Hey, hello, and welcome back. I am Debbie Peterson of Getting to Clarity, and this is another episode of the Getting to Clarity podcast, where busy women leaders come to hear myself and my guests share tips, tools, and techniques to create more success in your leadership and life with less sacrifice. And I'm very excited today. I have a special guest, Corliss Taylor. And let me share just a little bit about Corliss with you. She is from Raymond James, and she serves as the trust consultant and charitable specialist for the Midwest region, providing advisors and their clients with awareness and understanding of the services offered by Raymond James Trust. Corliss is also the past appointed national co-chair of the Women's Inclusion Network for Raymond James Financial. And that is where she worked tirelessly to incorporate diversity, equity, and inclusion into the corporate infrastructure, and did an amazing job, I might add. Corliss is a native of Atlanta, Georgia. She serves on the board of directors for the American Council on Gift Annuities and the Tampa Bay Black Business Investment Corporation. Corliss, it is so wonderful having you here. I so appreciate you saying yes to being on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Debbie. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. It is my pleasure, and thank you for that very kind introduction.
Of course, of course. So I'd like to start where I always start, and that's just helping our guests and listeners get a peek into the window that is your world. So would you be willing to share a bit about your background and how you came to be where you are today?
Oh, I love that question. Thank you so much. It was the pursuit that I had of being able to help people. That whatever question you ask me will probably go back to how can I help? So when I graduated undergrad, I went directly into private wealth management, which was wonderful. And I figured if you can help someone manage their money, you can help their life be better. That was just my thought process. And I'd done mathematics as an undergraduate major, mathematical economics. And then I started doing private wealth management and started traveling around the country. And every job that I had with the firms that I worked with, I learned a lot, and I volunteered for projects that will get me into different areas to learn even more. And so as I moved around, I ended up in Tampa Bay. And I loved my work, loved what I was doing, but then heard about this great institution called Raymond James. And I had not heard about Raymond James because I'm from Atlanta, like you said. And although absolutely they have a presence there, I'd been moving more towards the West. And then when I came here, the corporate headquarters, came over to Raymond James Trust and got the opportunity to put all of my skill set to work in the trust company, doing trust and estate planning, helping people preserve their legacies, doing charitable planning, helping people give back, and then being able to just help in general. So that's how I got here.
Amazing. And, giving back, I think, is one of your superpowers, because I have to let the listeners know that I reached out to Corliss. We actually went to a networking event together, and I was sitting next to her. And then I reached out to her and I said, hey, I would like to get to know you. She didn't know me from Adam, but she graciously gave me her time, and I drove to meet her for lunch. And that was kind of the beginning of it. This relationship that we have had that has just blossomed into something beautiful. And I love that you take something that is so innate to you and help other people to do the same thing, give back, give of themselves. So let me also, let's go to success. Success is something that a lot of people want, and a lot of people don't know what it means. And so I would love to hear from you, your version, your definition of success. What does success mean to you personally and professionally?
Absolutely. And thank you, Debbie. And I have to say for a moment, when I met you, it was as though I'd known you. So going to lunch with you was my pleasure. And just getting to know you and then having you here to speak, the women were tremendously blessed when you came and spoke to our Women's Inclusion Network. I mean, just the feedback was phenomenal. So I considered that my privilege to get to know you and blossom into this friendship and relationship that we have. And that dovetails into what my definition of success would be. Success is knowing, in my opinion,
Mhm.
where it is you would like to be and being very forward thinking about getting there. Now,
Mm.
I may not be there, wherever that is, but it is about the journey that I'm taking, the steps that I engage in that are the right ones to get me there. And if I'm successful when I know I want to go X and I take steps 1 and 2 to get there, because I know I'm doing the right things. I'm not on a detour, and I'm doing the behaviors and activities that get me to the what I have defined as success. I think the issue is a lot of individuals look at success in terms of what others have achieved. But it
Mhm.
may not be your skill set. It may not even be your desire. I've done that before, Debbie.
Oh,
I've tried to
yes.
go and be this wonderful person in a different department, and I didn't even like the role. So it was not success to me, it was a burden. But I stayed there, I did it to the best of my ability. But then I realized I desire and I enjoy doing something else. So I kind of detoured right back to my lane. That's success for me.
Okay. And you learned from it. So it wasn't a good fit. You recognized it and you're like, okay, I'm still going to play full out. I'm going to, that is my professionalism at work. I'm going to put 100% in. And when you had an opportunity, it's kind of like, okay, it's time to course correct. Let me get back in my lane because you had clarity around what that was.
That's right. I had clarity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And two interesting things that you just said about that is one, you really had a vision for what you wanted to the greatest of your ability. Two, you had a plan to get there because you knew then what steps to take. You knew what the behaviors were. Uh, but sometimes we have this just overarching, you want something different, but you don't know what it is. And you don't have a plan to get there. And it's kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. But when you do have that clarity, then it helps you to move forward. So I love that you shared that as well. And your version of success is, and we know it's not linear. There are some things that happen. And on your journey to success, creating more of it in your life, what are the things that you won't sacrifice? Just not going there. This is a priority. What are the things that you won't sacrifice in pursuing success?
Oh, I love that. I do. I have my, and to your point, yes, sometimes plans are not linear. Sometimes they change. You have to be malleable enough to know this is a good detour and it's not a good detour. It's incumbent upon you to know that. So in that path, that same thought process, what I know what's good for me and what's not, because to your point, I do try to really assess my life, my situation, my plans, my career, my personal life. What I won't sacrifice is having a schedule that is free enough to be able to still give of my time to organizations that I can serve. So if I'm so booked with my career and I have all these meetings, I have all this, something's not right because I need to be able to have free time, whether it's on the weekends, in the evening, to go and give back, to serve someone else, to help them get to clarity for what they need to do or get the resources that they need or the information that they need, whatever that serving looks like. I know you read in my bio, I am on boards of directors. I'm on the board of directors for two entities, but I'm talking about literally rolling my sleeves up and going back and helping someone else. That's it. At the end of the day, it helps me. I
Yes.
get joy out of it. And hopefully I've helped someone else get where they need to be, but I feel a sense of satisfaction and self-worth that I don't want to sacrifice or compromise.
So what I'm hearing and what it sounds like is that is part of what one of your life values, that's the thread through pretty much the whole conversation that you and I are having about the importance of being able to give back. and that you derive meaning from that. And you said satisfaction and fulfillment. So regardless of what it is that you're doing full time for your work, if it doesn't allow that space, then you're still missing something.
Absolutely. And well said. That is so true.
And tell me, what are the things that pull at you as far as the organizations that you enjoy serving? What
Mm.
is on your heart that you enjoy spending some time there?
Such a great question. I love working with teenagers. So
Mm.
I feel like they have so much to give, so much potential, but so many questions. And sometimes, I digress here, teenagers don't listen to their parents. They hear it
No.
and then they're like, okay, mom, okay, dad.
Yeah.
And the parents are doing a great job, but teenagers are just teenagers. So
Mhm.
you need someone to come in, a third party, and just reinforce, undergird what the parents are already saying. So I try to help navigate and guide them and help give them direction in whatever it is they think they may want to do, and tell them it's okay. If you want to go this way and you haven't quite figured it out, you're a teenager, you're young, but these are the parameters in which you need to operate.
Yeah.
Love working with teenagers. And I love working with women to
Mhm.
tell them and help them be the best version of themselves, because we put so much pressure on ourselves.
Yes,
So
we do.
maybe if someone else comes in and say, and I tell them, you're beautiful, or you're talented, or you can do that, it'll help in some way.
And again, it's a third party.
Third
We
party.
don't bestow those gifts upon ourselves normally, and we need sometimes external validation, and even just somebody getting where we're at, what we're going through. Uh, I've had conversations with friends going through difficult times, and I get you. I get
Yes.
you. I got your back. Whatever it is that you need, how you need to be supported, and we all need to be supported.
Absolutely. And during this time, I mean, I've done that for years. I love it. It's my passion. You read it in my bio. I served as the past national co-chair for the Women's Inclusion Network. I do that in my personal time at my church. I do it with friends. I have community groups, all of that. What I found, even in the last couple of years with the pandemic, sometimes you just need to be a listening ear. And that is all that that woman needs to recharge, reboot, and go out and do what it is she needs to do. And so I listen and I try to interject or not, so that the individual can get to clarity and know what it is that should be their next step. And sometimes that means I have to actually chime in with my experiences. If they can
Mhm.
help, here's what I've done in that same situation. And then use that as a fluid conversation and follow up. Don't leave them out there. Hey, I'm just checking in on you. That's why I go back to saying my schedule cannot be so weighted
Mhm.
down that I can't do what's necessary to help serve. Because you talk to someone one time, maybe two, but you need to be able to be there when they need you and
Mhm.
follow up and check in and let them know you didn't go away. This is a
Right.
real relationship. Mhm.
It is. And sharing the examples is so important, because some people don't have a frame of reference. They've never been in this situation before. They've never gone through anything like this before. And so, getting ideas from someone who's got that experience is so key. And yet it is still helping them to uncover their own answers. In certain situations, you don't want to just rush in and fix it. You want to help them get to the place that they need to. And it sounds that, that's with the listening ear that you have is one of the gifts that you bring. You have a lot going on personally, professionally, with your philanthropic activities. What keeps Corliss hale and hearty? How can you share so much of yourself? What keeps you? I say you can't give from a full cup, because even if you do, you're still depleting yourself. And from overflow, how do you get yourself to that space? What do you do
Oh,
for you?
yeah, that's a great question. I absolutely have to take time to pull away,
Mhm.
in an environment that's the atmosphere is set where I can meditate,
Okay.
be thankful, be grateful, write things down. And it's just me in that space being very appreciative. My inward prayers, my outward prayers, my meditation, my gratefulness, because I want to remind myself that I am whatever it is. I am thankful for. I am not this, but I am this, all these things. And I want you to know how appreciative I am. And I'm this. And I take that moment to just sit down and think about it, because sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't do this. I didn't get to that. Oh, and then you start being, no, take the moment, set the atmosphere, get away, pull away, and recharge, reinvigorate, like I said. And then once I do that, I'm so built up that now I can give back to other people, because I'm not worried about what I missed or how I didn't do or how I fell short. I've already realized, even though you did this, you got this, or you did. And that makes me builds up that confidence and that strength, that inner determination to share it with someone else. And then I go out and do that. I also love to exercise. I'm not saying I'm like the world's greatest weightlifter or all that, but what I do is I'll go walking, or I will go ride my bike. I have a bike that I love to ride. And it helps that my husband is very competitive on the bike. So even if I was just going to stroll along, he'll push me and make me ride faster. And that energy is burned. And now I'm like, oh, okay, good. Let's go do some things. And that helps as well.
So it's you at work. It is the space that you save to be able to give back, and it's space that you carve out to be able to take care of yourself too, which not everyone is able to do. And it's a spectrum of how well you do it. And a lot of times it depends on what you have going on. So I love that you have made that a priority.
And you know how I did that, Debbie? I learned this from a woman that was a mentor. I put it on my calendar, an appointment for me. So
okay. If you're not writing this down, write this down, because this is a strategy.
It made such a difference. When she told me that, she said, you have appointments to meet with people, you have appointments to go do, you're driven by your calendar. Where are you on that calendar? And I was like, oh, so when I put a meeting on the calendar for me, I literally have to take time. And now I know what I typically do is I prepare for meetings before I actually run into a meeting. I try as best I can. So when I see my meeting is coming up, I need to prepare. I need to go get my journals. I need to have the music in the background. I like music. And it's to set that atmosphere. All these things, I'm preparing for my own meeting because it's on my calendar.
And the interesting thing is, and I don't know if you remember this, but way back at that luncheon where you and I met, we sat next to each other. The CEO of Raymond James was speaking.
That's correct.
And he said, somebody asked him a question about work-life balance and about family meetings and events and, kids' activities and things like that. And they asked him, how do you do it? And he said, I put it on my calendar. I schedule it. And, sometimes I think it is one thing for a woman in business to hear that from a man. And it's another to hear it from another woman, to say, this is what I do. Because sometimes we think, oh, it's okay for someone else to do it, but not for me. And your calendar and your checkbook are going to indicate what is really important to you. If you do an analysis of those two things, you'll find out what you're putting your time and your money and your energy into. And is it what you want?
Absolutely. That goes back to the planning portion of it, because now you can, that is you didn't write that out yourself, your calendar, your checkbook, but you wrote it by the actions that you took. So you need to go back and review what you wrote by sending out those checks. And when you realize not only, where your activities are, but where your passions are, because that comes out of the checkbook, that shows, and then you can do an evaluation to say, are these really the things that I need to be focused on? I've done that before. Years ago, I did it, and I was like, oh my goodness, do you spend that much money at the mall? Really? And I stopped because it was therapy, and it was therapy directed in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Retail therapy, a distraction. I don't want to go somewhere, so I'm going to get something else that's going to provide me some sort of lift or pleasure instead of going in that direction, which may be dark, which may be tough, but really leaning into that and figuring out what you need to uncover so that that lift is coming from within, internally, instead of externally.
Mhm.
Shopping, food, alcohol, you name it. There's a lot of ways that we distract ourselves because we just, binge watching TV. And, and sometimes, I always have something on when I'm cooking, big dinners, Thanksgiving and cookies and things like that. But when it's your go-to every day, then there's something you need to take a look at.
That's when you need to step back and reassess. Why am I doing this repeatedly? It's okay to take a detour. It's okay to debrief. It's okay to take a moment, but that should not be our pattern. It should
Right.
not recur. And then if it does, and you notice it, take a moment to reassess and say, what is it that I need to adjust?
Yeah. What's underneath this? That is just brilliant. So let me ask you, what are some of the biggest lessons or lesson that you have learned along the way that you'd like to share?
Oh, so many, but I'll try to narrow it down to a couple. One, I believe everyone needs a mentor. We all need a mentor. You probably are the greatest at what you do, and you know all that you do. That's wonderful. You need a mentor, because I learned early in my career, as driven as I was, as passionate as I was, as thirsty as I was for information and understanding, I didn't know it all. And when I kept hitting the brick wall, I said, now, how can I not do this again? And somebody who's already done it and now 10 years out from it. And I realized mentors help. And I get this question when you say this, and people ask, well, people are busy and they already have mentors. How do I get one? Those are valid issues. What you do is you form relationships, and relationships are, you can't keep your head buried in the sand, just doing your job, only looking up when someone comes and approaches you. You need to go out, like you said, and forge relationships. And naturally, out of those relationships can come that mentor-mentee connection. And so I think people need mentors because they help to guide you and give you the right answers when you don't know. I also think that we have to remember, especially as women, that if someone does not think your skill set, your abilities, your capabilities are appropriate or the right fit for a role, that does not mean you are not talented. And I had to learn that. Doesn't mean that.
Oh,
It doesn't mean, it means their opinion, that role, but you are still valuable. You still have great things you can add. You are still capable of being the absolute best version of yourself. And just because you get one no or one I don't think so is not the end of the world.
yes.
That was a huge lesson for me.
Yes. And, I think I heard it the other day. You may have failed, but you're not a failure.
Great summary.
And there's a difference. It's not you, it's the circumstance, it's that particular job. You don't identify with it. You don't take that on as part of your identity. And I had done that as well in my corporate career. I did all of the things that they told you to do and ask for more and, show up and be visible. And when I asked, I pretty much got the pat on my head. No, you're good where you're at, kind of thing. And I took that on, that there was something wrong with me. And that was a really critical lesson because that would have kept me small. That would have,
Absolutely.
playing safe, playing small. And I couldn't ignore it. At some level, I knew it wasn't true. So that is a fabulous lesson. So thank you for sharing that. And just as we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to share with the audience? Something that is in your heart that you would like to promote, or how people can find you, or whatever you'd like to share?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. So corliss.taylor@raymondjames.com is my email address. So people are more than welcome to reach out. I don't mind at all. I would really welcome that. Thank you. But I'd like to say this is what I do. Now, I'm sharing what I do. If it works for you, great. But I like to be as informed and educated on a subject as I possibly can, because I want to be able to speak to it and know that it's accurate and that it's going to help and resolve issues. So I'd say to the audience, make sure you're reading, make sure you are networking, make sure you keep yourself in the know, whatever that looks like, podcasts, because or books or you name it, articles, you need to know the information. So that's the level playing field. We need if you can't participate in the opportunity if you're not at least on a level playing field. And that means educating yourself in the space. I'm a stickler for that. I think that we need to make sure we know as much information about whatever subject it is. It could be fun subjects.
So do you have favorite modes or methods to get that information and stay informed? Like, what's your go-to?
Absolutely. I use audiobooks. I do, because I'm so busy, and having the book in my ear when I have downtime, I just press play. I don't have to read and take the time to find the book. It's right there. Plus, it's on my phone. We have our phones. Audiobooks can get you the podcast. They can get you the book. They can get you so many media opportunities. And it's just, when you are informed, you are in the fight. That's how I look at it. And so you can fight strategically and win when you know what you're fighting for and how you need to fight.
And that's your responsibility, to go out and get it, not wait for it to be given to you.
Absolutely.
Being proactive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, Corliss, I so appreciate you coming on today and sharing your perspective, sharing about what success is for you and some of the strategies that you use to navigate it. And I look so forward to seeing you again soon. So for all of the listeners, I will have Corliss's bio and her contact information in the show notes. And until the next time, here is wishing each one of you the clarity that you deserve. Take care, and bye-bye for now.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.